Sup gamers, Baragon301 here, and today we're going to be going on a little bit of an adventure. So, put on your safari hats, load up your hunting rifles, and let's go do something controversial, because today we're going into the Amazon. Film in the home has had a pretty lengthy history. In the old days, all they had was the television. Basically, they had these things called channels, where movies, shows, and commercials would be broadcast to you. You couldn't choose what you got to watch, but hey, you gotta watch movies at home. Over time, more and more channels will become available, and channels will become more specific, making it easier to find something good to watch. Then VHS came along. VHSs are basically these big black blocks that allow you to have whatever movie at home. Sure, you had to buy them all individually, but hey, you were able to choose what you gotta watch. VHS was eventually replaced by DVDs. These things were all around more practical, smaller, easier to use, and had a menu that allowed for more features. These things were great. Can't play Jenga as well with them though. Eventually, Blu-rays came along, which didn't completely replace DVDs like what DVDs did to VHS, but they were a good improvement. They had more space and allowed for generally better quality. Then 4 came along and no one cared. Now around the time that VHS became a thing, so did movie rental stores. Movie rental stores are kind of like libraries, but with movies and sometimes even video games. The most well-known, of course, being Blockbuster. Then Redbox showed up and killed them all. Redboxes are those big red machines you see getting battered by the elements outside of Walgreens and rotting in the entryways of Walmarts. Redboxes are stupid. They only had new movies, and they were only ever new movies that did poorly, but people saw them as an easier way to access movies, and so they killed off all the Blockbuster stores. Nowadays, streaming services reign supreme. To the person watching this after 2049 when Blockbuster makes their grand return, forcing all streaming services to shut down by 2057, streaming services are like a combination between TV channels and movie rental stores. You pay a monthly fee and get access to all the crap that particular service has to offer. And if you're a monster movie fan, you're probably either a DVD collector or a pirate, because there isn't much on these things. First, let's see what the most popular streaming service, Netflix, has to offer for kaiju fans. Hope you like 3D anime! Yeah, Netflix mostly has crap. Sure, they've got some okay stuff like Godzilla Singular Point and Pacific Rim the Black, but they've also got the Godzilla anime trilogy and the bad Ultraman anime. Makes those of us who knew Netflix in its glory days, when they had actual Godzilla movies and Godzilla the series, shudder. Next is HBO Max, which actually isn't too bad. Since they have a good chunk of the Criterion collection, a lot of Showa Godzilla movies, and even Rodan and War of the Gargantuas are on there. Too bad most of those Godzilla movies are officially on YouTube for free. And then you have Amazon Prime, easily the cheapest looking of the big popular services, but because of this, they have low standards and will take anything. This causes them to have the best selection of obscure monster movies. They even have access to Toho movies like today's film, Dogora. Yes, even though I have access to it on Amazon Prime, I still bought it on DVD. They took away Alf, so there's a pretty good chance they'll eventually take down Dogora. Dogora is about a police officer trying to catch a group of diamond thieves that are part of a larger chain. There's also a mysterious American named Mark who claims to be a diamond thief himself. Diamonds are disappearing and the diamond thieves aren't the ones doing it. So the police, with the help of Mark, who's actually an undercover agent, and a scientist with a beautiful secretary, try to figure out the real cause of the mass diamond disappearance. They then end up discovering a space monster named Dogora is responsible, as it begins feeding on coal and diamonds all over the world. So they have to work together to stop the monster and the diamond thieves. The plot is pretty similar to another Toho kaiju film you may or may not have heard of from the same year. It's a little obscure, called Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. It even has a lot of the same actors. However, I think the story is done much better here. In Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, the story of the assassins trying to kill the princess while the monsters are fighting feels sloppy, and it feels like the film is jumping between two unrelated plots, either of which could be removed and it wouldn't affect the other. In Dogora, the two plots go together very well, and it also helps that the characters are actually good. I won't deny though, the film can get a bit confusing at times, and towards the end, the two plots kind of split apart. I still think it's done much better than Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster though. Plots like these in monster movies are tricky to do, but allow for a more unique film, rather than the typical Beast from 20,000 Fathoms copy and paste, like a lot of other monster movies. When it comes to the characters, they're actually pretty fun. They certainly aren't these complex, four-dimensional characters like Naoto, Ippei, and Yuka, but they are instead more like the cast of a 70s Godzilla movie like Gigan or Mechagodzilla, where they're just trying to have characters that are fun and entertaining. This is most apparent with the duo of Inspector Kome and Mark Jackson. The two have a fun dynamic as they never really trust one another and are constantly getting back at each other and having fun gags. For a cop heist movie, it's pretty lighthearted. Kome has this shtick where he climbs through the windows. Him and Mark constantly pull this put your shoes under the curtain gag to distract the other. There's also this great scene in Mark's hotel room where he goes for a gun but Kome takes it from him. Then Mark runs for it. Kome tries to fire the gun, but it ends up just being a party popper. All this back and forth comes together nicely with the climax, where they both get tied up together, along with a bag of dynamite, and have to work together to escape and learn to trust one another. Another thing that helps Dogora stand out is its monster. I'm sure most Godzilla fans, even if they haven't seen the film, know what Dogora looks like. A big space jellyfish. However, most probably don't know that Dogora himself is barely in the movie. He spends most of his time just sitting in the cloud, sucking up coal. Sometimes he'll come down and jack with people in the form of a gelatinous blob, and there's really only one scene where we see Dogora descend down, and it's just to tear a bridge apart. Yeah, it can seem a bit disappointing to someone looking for a bit more, however I think Dogora is a really interesting and unique kaiju, and the story and characters allow the film to stand on its own. It also has a pretty underrated soundtrack. While Dogora doesn't seem to have any big themes like a lot of Ishiro Honda's other films, it's still a fun and entertaining monster movie, and making it a crime story allows for a fresh new story for a monster movie. Though the H-Man basically already did that. Still, it's better than the typical hero who's in love with the daughter or student of an old scientist story that they keep recycling in old 50s monster movies. Well, this is where our journey ends for now. There's plenty of other old monster movies lurking within the depths of the Amazon, so keep searching, and I hope to see you all next time. That is, if the Triffids don't get you first.